in the North as it was in the South.
What do you mean?
Wasn't um, as prominent in the North as it was in the South.
Oh, because they
Because
were trying to be a little bit
yeah,
more
yeah,
more progressive.
mm-hmm,
Yes.
yeah. But it's a hard situation, but it you know I don't know if it could be changed.
It it can if people are willing to change to be different. There's
Mm,
uh how people teach their children is the first start.
yeah,
There I was telling her, like, it's great to teach your child about the history of race relations and what you can expect out of certain people, but there's a way to go about doing that. There's
yeah,
you can tell her, like, well, there's going to be people out here that are going to use these type of words that are going to try and belittle you based off of the color of your skin, and you don't pay attention to that. But the way that her and certain people talk about these things is like, oh, if a motherfucking cracker says something like this to you or calls you a nigger, you come and tell me. Like, well, how is that going to be
yeah,
beneficial? You're building up some type of defense mechanism based off of the color of someone's skin
yeah. But
early.
when you uh, growing up, uh, to me, nobody had to tell you about. I mean, e- e- well, in the South, they had the water fountains
Mm-hmm.
and with the colored and the white. The white water was cold.
Okay.
The water that came out the black
It was just straight
fountain was
from the tap. It wasn't
it,
refrigerated.
right. So it wasn't good. And in the bus station, it was even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things you um white and black. And what do you have to teach? If the kid come to you and ask you something, you explain what you know. But you don't sit down and
And
tell
force feed ideals on them.
in children,
Right, yeah.
because they're coming up. They're gonna learn.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, and that's what I like. Why force feed hate if you want a positive life and future? That's
Yeah.
not going to achieve those things.
And then we knew that on our uh, uh, in our road, because we had roads,
Mm-hmm.
they would bring the school bus down there. The whites lived all the way on the end of the blacks. The blacks lived on the front.
Right.
That school bus would come down there and pick up one white kid. And here, a bunch of us, we had to walk all the way over to the next road
Mm-hmm.
so they can pick all the blacks up at the same time.
Right.
We used to complain to each other about that. Why can't they come pick us up? But then we we know it's black and it's white.
Yes.
We're going to black school, they're going to white school.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it was.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody had to teach you that.
Yeah. Not at all. That was uh, based on the segregation of the schools,
Of the schools
but
and
that would
and
be the same thing as if a kid lived here and went to a Catholic school, and then all the kids next door went to a public school. The public school bus stop is around the corner, but this kid that's going to a Catholic school, their bus system comes and picks him up right from his house. But it just so happened that was the separation of white and black back then, because that's how they had the schools segregated.
yeah, but the Catholic, they would be paying for that bus.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
see, the county
Right. This
would.
was state
Mm-hmm,
mandated
yeah.
back in your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. there's always going to be well, hopefully not always, but there, as of right now, there's always a separation or segregation of a certain type of people.
Yeah.
The class system, and now it's moving away from racial lines, and it's going to
Class. Then,
economic status.
yeah.
Yes.
I remember, some of the foreigners like come from England and Ireland and those places. They said, their place wasn't prejudiced black and white, but what they knew was class.
Mm-hmm.
They were separated by class.
Yep. It's like, oh, why is that here in our restaurant? You know they don't have any money. They can't afford this. Look at their clothes. Like, it doesn't matter what the color of their skin is.
It was the class.
Right. If you were at a certain status level in society, that's where you needed to be with.
Yeah. But then they learn quick when they come to the States.
Yes. In the
It's
United States,
It's black and white.
right. It used to be the majority was black and white. Now that's becoming the minority,
Yeah,
and it's
because
it
the
was
Mexicans,
yeah.
and the Asians, and all they all considered in the black race, but they don't.
Well, no, they're not considered being in the black race. They're just
not
looked
in
at
the black race, but in that category.
right as a undesirable.
Yeah.
Yes, they're in groups of people with a certain status will look at people as undesirable. Remember, after September 11th, everybody loved everybody. As long as you were American, you were all right with me.
Right, yeah.
But even if you were American and you wore a towel on your head, like, you were the enemy.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It was like, well, but I am Indian. I have never been to the Middle East. I am Indian.
Right.
My name is Patel. And then, but they were still getting attacked based off of their look and the way that they dressed. It didn't matter if they had light skin or dark skin. You're wearing a towel on your head, so you're the enemy.
That's right.
And everybody, didn't matter if you were black, white, Spanish, Mexican, Japanese, or anything like that. Everybody did the dog pile. Like, oh, let's shun them. Like, oh, you walk into a 7-Eleven or something like that, and somebody was working there. He's like, oh, look at this sand monkey. I can't stand them. Like, oh, damn sand nigger. They're like, oh,
This is somebody that come in to buy.
yes, coming in to buy stuff, and they're behind the register trying to put on a smile and like, okay, let's not say anything wrong. But then you look at the people that's walking up to him and saying it. It's like, okay, it's the white redneck, it's the black hip hop guy, it's the Spanish corporate guy. It's everybody picks a team and then they attack the other team. So then when that dies down, it's like, okay, well, who are we going to attack now?
No, yeah.
Because most of the country has gotten past the whole black and white thing as it being a major concern. Granted, there are still people that hold on to the past and say, oh, I can never get along with a black person because black people do this. Well, have you ever met a black person? No. It's like, well, okay, so how can you assume that they're going to do this? And everything that you said that they do, the people that you're around do that type of stuff, but you still hang out around them. Like, what sense does that make? And they never have an answer. Then you have the people that have a bad experience, and then that bad experience perpetuates that stereotype. Yeah. Like, if you're a waiter or waitress and you see a table of black people that come in there, you give your great service and all that other stuff, and then you don't get a tip. It's like, well, that's perpetuating the stereotype that black people don't tip well. So now, if I see a group of black people, I'm not going to give them that good of a service. And the people that would have given you a tip are now helping perpetuate that. It's like, well, they gave us crappy service, so I'm not going to tip well. And then the waiter or waitress is like, well, see, that's exactly what I thought. Those people don't tip well. It's like, well, you gave them crappy service, making them not to tip well. Well, that always happens. Well, do you always give crappy service? Yeah. Well, what are you expecting? Then when they change that around and they're giving good service to everybody, there's going to be some white people that don't tip. There's going to be some black people that don't tip. And then you're going to have those moments where people are going to appreciate your service and over tip you. It's based on a person per person level. You shouldn't have that type of
But I always and still do hate that tipping service. I used to hear about it when I was growing up. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I sure hate to buy something when in the north and have to tip.
Mm-hmm.
I said, we didn't give tips. We didn't know nothing about tips, but you hear about it. And I just hated it.
Right. It's like, I'm already paying for something. Why do I need to give extra?
Yeah, but it's terrible. If you don't tip, you're a bad person. Because that's, and that shouldn't be. They getting their wage from the tips.
Mm-hmm.
They doing hard work and getting 2 cents, and then the tips bring them up to 50 cents.
Right. Yep. It's a bad and messed up system.
Yeah.
And all of those stereotypes across the board.
Yeah.
If you hold on to every stereotype, you wouldn't come out the house at all.
That's the truth.
Like, you have to let go of all that stuff. Yep.
Right. You really do.
And that's why sometimes you think like, oh, you just don't love black people. Like, no, I love everybody. I just let go of all of those stereotypes of what you're supposed to do if you're this color.
If you're this color, yeah. I understand that, but in some things I don't understand. We have discussed it before in religion,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like when you were with that other group of people and that other group of people, I felt like you believed in God, and these other groups, they looked up to you. You were a person that you did crazy things, but you still act as a spiritual person, and these people could look up to you. And I feel like when you got rid of all of that group, you didn't get rid of all of them because you're still in touch. But when you came up with a group that's just you and them, to me, it's you and them. And to me, you're trying to follow their lives to keep them happy.
No.
Are you happy?
No, that wasn't the case at all.
No.
No. Me leaving Christianity, that was based off of studying it and trying to dive into it as much as I could. It had nothing to do with any external influences of people that are around or hanging out with. It was me having questions about the religion, about the book, and about about how people acted within the religion.
Yeah.
Like,
But what I can't understand, what was the person that you I can't remember now, but you explained it to me about this person that I
what,
don't
Tyler Durden?
I don't know. I
That
can't
I would say,
remember.
oh, that was my
Uh,
spiritual advisor.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I said, well, how could you believe in, in him, and you can't believe in God sent His Son to die, and He rose again to live, to let people when they die, they if they believe in Christ, they will live again.
Well, what the story of the movie Fight Club spoke
Mm,
to me. It spoke to me about what was happening in my life, not what
mm,
happened thousands of years ago.
mm,
That was something that I looked at as a way of how they live life, and how could I try to relate that to mine. And that is going against what is established and making my own. So if you're to look at the story of Jesus, I'm doing that. I'm going against what everybody is saying, what you should believe in and how you should do things, and I'm making my own based off of my own life experiences. Now, with the whole Tyler Durden thing, it spoke
mm,
to my manhood, or the lack thereof. I didn't have any male figures to look towards or to understand. This is what a man is. In the movie, it pulls these questions of, is this what a man should be like, or maybe it should be like that, or maybe it should be like that, or what we see on TV or what we see in a magazine ads, maybe I need to be like that. But no, that's not the answer. You have to find out for yourself, and all those different voices that are in your head, you have to get them as one and working together as one. Because in the movie, there's these two characters. There's Tyler Durden, and
mm,
then there's the narrator.
yeah.
There's two people on screen,
Mm,
but in the you find out that it's only one person there.
mm,
Tyler Durden is his made up imaginary friend. His imaginary friend is how he wants to be in life. His imaginary friend takes over his body and goes and does all the things that he wants to do. He wants to be a revolutionary. He wants to change the world. He wants to do all of this stuff. But the narrator is stuck in a desk job that he hates. He has a life that's unfulfilling. All he does is go to work, come home, watches TV, and feels as though that, oh, well, if I'm to have a proper life, I need to have my house looking a certain way. I have to have these blinds that go with this couch, that goes with this rug, that goes with the exercise bike in the corner. I have to have all of these things to feel complete. But as he's buying all of these things, he's not getting any satisfaction of it, because he has a skewed view of what it takes to be a man. So within that, he created his own persona in his mind and decided to go out and live that persona, but still having to be his other self, his normal self. And it got to a breaking point where he would fight his internal battles on the outside. He would, like how we're talking right now, he would have conversations like that where he would hear the other person's voice and going back and forth in a debate. Then it got physical where they were fighting each other.
and it was just him.
Yeah, it's just him punching
and
himself, choking himself, and all this other stuff, because he had that internal battle where you say in your mind, Oh, I want to go do this. No, you shouldn't. Ah, but I really want to. No, you shouldn't. And he was having that internal battle on the outside where he couldn't control it. He knew that he wanted to better himself, but he couldn't do that on his own. He needed to make up a personality to be something totally different. And that's what I got out of that, which made a reflection of myself with my life in school, my life working, my life in the church, my life with my family, my life with my friends, my life with people that I meet every day out in public. Like, I can't be all of these different things. I need to center and figure out what makes me me, and not, oh, well, this is Jeremy in church. This is J.A. on the street. This is Jeremy with his family. This is J.A. When he's away from his family. I had to become one person because that was that inner turmoil inside me, and that I had to figure out and get a handle and a hold on myself. Now, with that happened after my thoughts of leaving the church.
Yeah, but did this help your manhood?
Yes, it did.
Because the manhood, uh, by you embracing your manhood, that would be a part of the church.
Not necessarily, because it would be, I would have to assimilate to what was there in the church. What was happening with me as a youth in the church, I was assimilating to the youth culture in the church, and what I had to look forward to as an adult in a church. I didn't like the path that I was going on. I was going on these church trips, and what would I do? I get a hotel room. I would be a whore, have a different girl in my room every night. And that's what I did on those church trips. When going to Detroit, going to Delaware, that's what that became. And I realized, like, no, I'm on the path of looking into becoming a minister. That's what I started to think and see for myself. But I'm doing these things that are not, that's not how I should be. And I'm looking forward to preaching the word. So then I just started studying the Bible harder. Like, okay, well, now I'm actually reading the Bible, and it contradicts itself back and forth. It's like, okay, well, let me go talk to different ministers and ask them my questions. Like, okay, well, we'd have these long discussions. Like, yeah, well, in that part of the Bible, they felt this way, and then the person that wrote this part of the Bible felt that way. But all you have to do is just pray. It's like, but that's not answering anything. It's like, well, just have faith. Okay, but you just admitted that there's contradictions there. It's like, well, no, you don't take this part literally, but you take all of this literally. Like, well, why wouldn't I take the whole thing literally instead of just a story that I should accept this part and not that part? So that started to drain on me. Then all of the scandals and stuff within various different churches, within the AME church or any other type of denomination of Christianity. And it's like, well, I'm still going down that path of I would be a part of those scandals. Maybe I go through seminary school, I get a church. It's like, well, look at all the people that I ran with in the church. It's like, okay, that guy was a whore, that guy was a whore. Oh, he has a church now. Now he's having sex with half his congregation. And then look at his father and what he was doing before while we were kids, And his father was having problems. Well, they're messing up the money in the church. He's cheating on his wife. They're doing this. They're doing that. That started to be a distaste in my mouth of, well, what am I trying to do? What is my purpose in life? What am I supposed to take from this to give to people? So with all of that, it's like, well, I'm looking towards was it prophetizing or preaching something that I'm not supposed to take 100% literally, but then the other half say you're supposed to take it 100% literally. So that didn't make any sense to me. So I said, let me embrace everything that's within the Bible, use it as a motivational story to make myself better, so that no matter who it was that I would come in contact with, I would make the moment that they have with me so much more better, that they can take some of my energy and pass it along, or embrace it and hold it in their heart, knowing that that I was a positive influence on their life. So it wasn't coming from a questionable doctrine within Christianity. It was coming from my heart. Like, this is what I believe. I believe everybody should be good. I believe everybody should love people that they come in contact with. I also believe that there are messed up people in this world that you have to protect yourself from. Now, there are various different stories like that within the Bible, that some are looked at as factual, some are looked at as story tales. I wasn't there, so I'm just going to look at all of it as story tales. If I told you a story about myself from years ago, you only have my recollection of that story. You weren't there. You didn't experience it, so I could be telling the truth or not. But the thing would be, from that story that I told you, did it change your life anyway? Or did it help you to better yourself? From the struggle that I had years ago, did that help you? And that's what the Bible is. There are old stories, whether they're true or not true, they are there to help you to better yourself, so that you can go out in the world and help other people and better other people. But instead of pigeonholing myself to one doctrine, I embraced everything. I embraced everything of the world to be able to share with people. Yeah. So that's why I left Christianity.
Yeah, but you when you went off on the trips, you said you were a whore?
Yes.
You just
It's
were a
women.
whore? Well, how could that be when you're supposed to have what you call it?
Chaperones and all that other stuff? Well, depending
Yeah.
on who the chaperone was, we were able to get over it. And plus, I was Jeremy Dudley. I'm highly respected, so I could do whatever it was that I wanted.
Yeah, but it's still, it that kind of stuff to me would come back to the church.
For
And
people that got in trouble with it, yes, it would come back to the church. When I was in Detroit, you remember when I took that trip out there for that conference meeting, the YPD conference meeting?
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. Well, out there was a situation that happened. There was a group of people in my room, and I think some of them were from St. James in Newark, and a few other churches, but everybody was like over 18 and in their most of them in their 20s. Now there was this girl that was from St. James that was trying to get in my room. She was causing such a ruckus and everything. It's like, yo, you need to calm down. You're too young to be in here, and you're acting all crazy. And people are trying to talk to her and get her out. So she wants to come and hang out with all of us. Granted, I think she might have been a year younger than me, but everybody else in the room was so much older, because everybody gravitated towards me. So I was trying to get her out of my room. She's going crazy, causing a ruckus. And then, was it Miss Guyton?
Yeah.
You remember her? Yeah. She was called and to get this girl and got security, got her out to the airport quick, because she was causing that much of a problem. Then when we got back to New Jersey, all the news about that spread around the YPD that there was this huge problem in my room. I didn't get in trouble for it, but the talk was about this girl that shouldn't have even gone on the trip, because a week prior she tried to beat up was that Reverend Watley's wife. Yeah. So she was a really unruly girl, but those things and situations that went on, they were mostly kept under wraps from the people that were running things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the what you call them?
Missionaries?
No, the one that's watching over you at those conferences.
Oh yeah, well they want to
They
definitely
would've
keep
been-
their position.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't going to tell anything.
Yeah, no, not at all. So,
So that's interesting.
yeah. So it wasn't the company that I kept that that made me move away from Christianity. It was me actually diving into it is what moved me away from it. If I would have just been like borderline how I was through my youth, I'd most likely still be in church, because it's like, oh, that's just what you do. It's like there's no other option. You go to church and ask for forgiveness for all the crap you did throughout the week, instead of living your life the way that you want to be all week, where it's no need or necessity to have to beg for forgiveness. Like, you are given the strength to make choices for yourself, and you shouldn't have a get out of jail free card. Like, you choose to do what it is that you choose to do.
Yeah.
But you have the comfort of praising God, talking to Jesus, and all of that stuff. Hey, that's what comforts you.
That's what comes.
Right. Me knowing that is fine and good, but it doesn't comfort me, and it doesn't disgust me either way.
Yeah.
It's just that is your way to your enlightenment. My way to enlightenment is giving positive energy and positive vibes, positive reflections to everyone that I can come in contact with.
Yeah, but I used to sometimes, when I get over depressed, and there is times when your mother is the strong one to you.
Right.
So I remember I used to say, oh man, how am I gonna get through this? And then one day, she was dead already,
Mm-hmm.
and she said to me, Gladys, you have Jesus. That's all you need. And always keep this in my mind when something, just seems like it's a little hard for me. I go to Jesus because my mother said, "You have Jesus. You don't need anything else."
Okay. Now,
So,
and that's what gets you through it.
do yeah.
If even if I was a Christian, or when I was a Christian, I didn't look at it like that. I went off of the teachings that we are made within the image of God, so we have the power and control of God over our direction in life. So I don't need to beg for guidance of.
But we have God, but God, God sent His Son. I mean, well, how the world was so wicked and He destroyed it. Then
Well, I wasn't there for that.
you didn't read about that.
No, I read about that in the Bible, but
Yeah,
it
but
doesn't.
no,
There isn't
no,
any historical stories that came from it. Yes, granted, the world was
yeah.
definitely wicked. There were various atrocities that happened, but within the.
But the world, not just one or two places, the world. So the world was a big place.
Right. Yes, the world was a big place, but how it's stated in the Bible that things happened, there's no historical evidence to support that.
It's historical evidence if you read it and believe it.
Right, but that's not historical evidence. That is someone trying to convey a message of how the world was so bad. It's like, okay, well, that I can understand. Did it actually happen? No one knows, because no one was alive then to
No,
experience it.
but they, just like you writing a book, they
Hmm.
wrote books too.
Right.
And the Parliament, um, the scrolls supposedly have this evidence.
Well, they have different
The
versions.
scrolls.
There are different versions that were translated from a language that no one understands. So
What
what
they eventually,
there nobody understood what they took the Bible from. No one understood that. No one can understand that. It's just like, what does this say right here? You can't read or understand that.
well, they eventually
No, it was all
with the
guesswork.
scrolls,
It
yeah.
it was all
So
guesswork.
so
Right,
yeah.
but no, I'm not trying to push you away from it.
No,
I'm just
no, I'm not.
explaining
Yeah,
the
your
history of
thoughts
it.
of it, right?
No, it's not my thoughts. It's the
Yeah,
history of it.
yeah, but the history of it, as you know it, and the history of it as I know it,
Well, you don't know the history of it. You just appreciate
please.
the Bible for what it does for you. I
Yeah,
appreciate the Bible for what it's done for various different causes in the world. But the history of the Aramaic was a dead language that no one in the world understood. They found these scrolls, and then people guessed, well, if this character, let's say this character means this, and then that character means this, and every time we see this, it's the symbol that looks like the sun. So, okay, so if that's the sun, this means son of earth. Well, no, let's try it this way: son of God. Well, okay, it repeats down here too. Okay, it repeats down there. So this has to be the Son. This means God, and this means this. So that's how they wrote the Bible and translated it into the languages of that time. Then, as more languages developed, They translated it into different languages. Then it was edited. Then it was changed up for each and every different language. Then once they got a standardized version, they made it all illegal. Then King James, he decided to make it as to where it would benefit him. So he rewrote it how he would see fit. He didn't. They didn't like that either. So then Martin Luther, he rewrote the Bible and gave it out to the masses, so all of them can, all the people can read it, instead of just the priests that felt as though it was so sacred that the common folk people wouldn't understand the awesome power that's in this book. But Martin Luther felt like everybody should have it, and he was killed for that. Then now in our times, you have all of these different versions that people take from what was given a few hundred years ago. Like you have the New International Version, you got the King James Version. There are all these different versions of something that was a different version of something that was a different version of something that was a different version of something that no one understood. That's the history of Christianity, which, okay, that's fine and good, but people today take it as fact when the history says it was guesswork, and that guesswork has helped shape this world to the world it is today. Whether it's good or bad, whether you appreciate it or not, it's those works change this world to this day.
It could be part of what you are saying, could be a part of what really happened.
Right.
But it could be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we celebrate the 2,000 years. Now, all the years before that, we're not trying to remember what they did. We think some of it came up to this 2,000 years ago, when our Savior was born for us to have the love and mostly love, because that's what he taught, love in our lives.
Right. He was taught, and with that power of love, that power turned into hatred, because God so loved us, meaning you and I right here, not them. So we're going to go kill them and take all of that stuff because God granted us this, instead of God granted the world all of this. And that's how slavery happened. That's how conquering happened, based in the name of...
We were slaves, but we weren't the only people in slavery.
Right, which is true. Yeah. There's always a power structure that is going to try to take advantage of the lower class.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether there's a religion involved or what. There's extreme slavery going on to this day.
Yeah.
And that's based off of economics and different workforces. Like my phone, all the things that it does, it was created by slave labor. Yeah. There are people in Africa that are getting these minerals called coltan that makes my phone smaller, faster, and more efficient. And there's people...
But what about Ireland slaves? Weren't they in slavery?
Well, no, that's... I'm not talking about back 100 years ago. I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about today. There's people that assemble my phone in Japan at a company named Foxconn, and they have to work around the clock, and they have an hour rest time. They never get to go home or anything. It's so bad there that they had to build suicide nets around the entire building, because people would get just so frustrated and they just go jump off the building and try and kill themselves, because they felt like they couldn't handle it anymore. They was like, oh, well, I worked in the rice paddies as a kid, and my only way out to make some money to send back to my family is go work for this corporation. So this corporation brings you in. It's like, okay, well, this is what you have to do, and you can't leave. You don't get any vacations. You don't get any break time or anything like that. And do you want to take the job or not? And so they take the job, send their money to their families, and then something in them snaps where they feel they finally realize they're getting taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always people getting over on lower class people.
Right.
It doesn't matter the color of their skin. It's all about supply and demand.
That's right.
Like right now, you don't feel like a slave master.
Of course not.
Right. But from the joys that you take on vicariously down the line, it's just like you're cracking a whip on somebody. Like, you aren't out there looking out on the plantation and saying, oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. You're not standing up doing that. But from your actions and how you live your life, you're a part of the problem, but it's not a problem to you because you're oblivious to it. Most of the world is oblivious to the ripple effects of their actions. I have this car. It takes oil and gas and rubber. I'm not only messing up the environment, but there are people that are being taken advantage of to get this oil and stuff for cheap so that I can pay a few dollars to fill up my tank. But there are people that are suffering because of the enjoyment that I have because I have this vehicle.
Yeah.
But you don't feel it because it's not direct.
Right.
And that's why a lot of people
But
are...
that's the way they are living, to try to live.
Right, yes.
Because of that economy, and that's the way some parts of the world is.
Right. And we are the cause to their effect.
Okay, grandson. Now I'm comfortable and I'm getting so sleepy.
No problem. It's been almost 50 minutes, almost an hour of us just stopped right here talking.
Well, that was a good thing.
Yeah. Well, now we can head in the house.
Okay.
All right.